Mine is on my script is on my phone today.
Are we live?
Yes.
We are live.
We are live. Welcome to the Chicken Boxx, y'all. Hey, happy Thursday. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm your host, Kevin Impeccable Peck, and it's another great day. If you woke up, if you're feeling all right, somebody let me know. Anyway, that's the Sugar Hill Gangs. If you know about it, you know about it. I'm not gonna start rapping. How is everybody today? Misha, you good?
I'm doing well. I'm over here. I'm in a different space as well. So I'm like looking at how my mom's window was reflected on my face and things like that. I see Dr. Draper's doing the same thing because she's
Everybody's
in the
trying to
office
find
today.
their light. This is the holiday season. This is when people are sad, they're upset, they're happy, they're excited. I don't know. But everybody trying to find their light. Dr. Draper.
Hey there, I'm Francis Tony Draper, CEO of the AFRO, representing the boomers. I call myself a millennial boomer. But Kevin, you talked about everybody trying to find their light. There is a condition called SAD, seasonal affective depressive disorder, that happens in the wintertime because of lack of light and the shortened days. And there are a lot of folks that go through depressive states during this time of the year. And boy, are there lots of other things that can compound that. But we didn't come to talk about anything depressing on today. We're going to let our light so shine before men so they can see our good works and glorify God who's in heaven. So the lighting may not be the best, and so that doesn't matter. It's still light.
Boom. If you've never tuned into the Chicken Boxx, thank you for that. Somebody needs to just smile. Just try smiling at our computer now. It'll make you feel just a little bit better. Just that beautiful smile. I see it. I feel it. I see my screen moving. Man, the Chicken Boxx is where we dispel myths. We talk about stereotypes in the Black community, powered by the Afro-American newspaper, who we've been informing, educating, and inspiring for over 129 years. That's right. We got a 130th birthday coming. Hopefully we'll be able to gather and it'll be an amazing, amazing, amazing celebration. So don't be a chicken in Baltimore. A Chicken Boxx is full wings and fries. But on this show is where you get your chance to speak the truth. We're dealing with global impact, or African American global impact, Black people versus African American global impact. What's that big difference? We have some great guests coming on. Misha, would you like to introduce our team of Afro guests that we have coming today?
Sure. I'm super honored to introduce our guests today. They are my crew who I work with daily. Our managing editor, Reverend Dorothy Bulware, and our news editor, Jessica Dortch, who I am just so happy to have on the box with us today. These are my gals, and they get the job done and ensure that you all get the news that you can use. So we've had a busy week this week, and I'm excited to hear them break down what we've been up to.
Break it down, Dr. Bulware.
That really
Don't start dancing. Don't start dancing.
So break it down. I just hang out with these marvelous young ladies. They keep me young. They keep me thinking. And they remind me of the things that I need to do, along with our brilliant business writer, Megan Sales. We have a wonderful time on our editorial team. So happy to be with you today. I'll figure out later what to break down.
All right. These are power writers of the Afro, bringing you the news, not owned by anybody else but African Americans, for you, to bring you on time, on the second. That's right. We have afro.com. Check us out if you've never checked this out. Afro.com. It is the perfect time to get a holiday gift. We'll talk about that later. Boom. It feels so good to have a producer. I'm hands-free, y'all. Jessica, welcome to the Chicken Boxx.
Thank you. And like what Rev was saying, we remind each other of things that we have to do, okay? Because it's ever evolving, ever changing. Okay, but yes, we are still here physically and figuratively. And yeah, I'm just thankful to have made it to Thursday. Woo, this week was busy, but we're here.
Right. If you've been watching us for a while, or should I say, rocking with the Afro. That's so funny, right? I'm reading the script, y'all. I'm sorry. You know, this is our special edition, our legacy product. And this month, we're talking about African Americans' global impact. We're not talking about just on the four corners of Baltimore, Washington, D.C. We're talking about global impact. How do African Americans influence culture, not only nationally, locally, but internationally as well? And that's what this issue is all about. So I would love to just sit back and be a fly on the wall as you guys really talk about. We did this We're Still Here edition for this past year, you guys, where we took certain topics and we did we dedicated not a section, not an article, an entire edition. That's right. We still have a legacy edition, an entire edition on a topic. And so we have the powerhouse team here. I'm glad to be a fly on the wall, and you can just tell me. And Jessica, I love the front. We're going to start something new with Jessica. She reads the news front in our meetings, and as always, it makes it come to life. But anyway,
Thank you.
I love it, and I think that everybody else who listens will love it as well. Happy holidays, everybody, if I haven't said that. But I'll let you guys, you global impact leaders, take it away.
Well, I just wanted to point out that paper looks great, Ms. Draper. I forgot you're in the office, so you have it. It looks so good. It's one thing when you look at it on like the digital version, and it's another thing when you can touch and you can feel it. It's beautiful. It really turned out great. So I'm just thankful. And I guess, I can start off because showing the front, as I like to call it, with this edition and this particular topic, we were like, what does that look like? What is this cover going to look like? You really want the cover to speak to what's going to be in the paper and everything like that. And it's kind of like, we really had to wrap our brains around, like, what does it look like? What does the African American global impact, what does it look like? And I guess, to put it simply, it looks like us. It looks like the Afro. It looks like Josephine Baker. It looks like, our presence in so many different sectors and industries, and how, our Blackness really has seeped over and embedded itself into almost every culture, really. So I just wanted to start that off. I guess I'm on the box a little bit, but that's what, in when we got this topic, that's kind of where my mind went. That was the first place my mind went. I'm like, what does that look like? So, yeah.
Get on the box. This is the
No,
Chicken Boxx.
I was about to say that's exactly where you were supposed to be, Jess. We're supposed to start on the box. That is the whole point of the Chicken Boxx. So, I guess I'll start off on the box talking about what I thought when we were given the topic global impact, because I think that we are given these really amazing topics and we can do so many wonderful things with it, but you wonder exactly what exactly are the people, what do the people want, right? when you're talking these different themes and global impact, you can go so many different ways. And because we know that we have these themed special editions, we wanted to ensure that we were doing justice to this month's theme in particular, as opposed to dipping into other months or sort of veering off of the track of African Americans' global impact. And so I really had a challenge when I was assigning stories as well as working on mine, because I did not want it to be an edition that highlighted the people who were the first to do something or highlighted someone's journey. This was supposed to be how people and African Americans in general have been able to influence larger culture, or how African culture has thus influenced African American culture. And so that exchange was really, really interesting. Without giving too much away, because we have a whole hour to do that, I'm going to hop off the box. But I do think that when you think about African American global impact, it can go in so many directions. So I really like how we were able to synthesize it in a way that focuses on our influence globally as opposed to certain things that are sort of go-tos when you think about African Americans.
Boom. So Dr. Bower, what you being a managing editor of the Afro, what train of thought was in your mind when you approached this global impact issue?
My first question was, what on earth? People may not know that the special editions we do are the product of the whole Afro team. And so the topics are chosen in small groups, and then they sort of rotate back to editorial, and we get to put the flesh on them. And so, not having been in that discussion, sometimes when we look at the topic, it's like, what? Like, what were they thinking about? What did they mean? What is this supposed to be about? So the same thing you're asking me was my question. What on earth are we gonna do with this? And at the same time, a thought came to me, and it was from a story I did many years ago. I can't remember the gentleman's name, and at some point I will search him out. But there was a businessman in Baltimore, and I did a story on him having left to go to an African country to wire it so that they could have internet.
Hmm.
And I thought, well, this was one person, but yet he had such a great global influence, to a place where they had no internet. And he was willing to get that going. And I did a similar story on a woman who visited in Africa and never moved back to this country. She started a school. She used computers and all of that stuff. So all these people had their global reach. And so that's where we started. And like Misha said, we didn't want to talk about the first people to do things. So we just began to look at the different aspects of our culture, of industry, and all of that, so that we could look at how we actually do have that reach and that touch throughout the world.
Absolutely. Dr. Draper, CEO of the Afro American newspaper. When we talk about global impact, what you on the box? What are you
First,
processing?
let me spend my first few seconds on the box to commend our editorial team, our advertising team. Let me do that first. Give them a shout out. Because once a month, this entire edition's on one subject. And as Dorothy said, they might not have been in a small group that came up with this. So somebody else came up with it. And so kudos to the advertising team too. Shout out to our main sponsors of this particular edition that includes Tedco and let's see who else are the sponsors of this edition. I want to give them a shout out as well for that. And so we really are Johns Hopkins, T. Rowe Price, and then so many others. And so when I think about global impact, I think about a Josephine Baker, for example, who could not perform in certain venues in the United States, was not accepted, could not do and showcase her wonderful talent right here in the country of her, but had to go overseas. She had such a global impact that we know she got a singular honor, I think it was last week. And so you think about people like that, when they left the United States, where there was so much, and there still is so much racism, right? Where they could go and then just be who they are, regardless of the color of their skin. And in fact, a lot of them wrote like our book that the Afro produced called "This Is Our War." We sent 7 correspondents from the Afro to Europe. They actually enlisted in the army, and they became the largest corps of African American war correspondents there. They said that walking down the streets of Europe, people didn't pay any attention to the fact that they were Black. Nobody, checked their card at the door. No pun intended. We're checking cards at the door now for a whole different way, but reason. And so they were able to do that. And so we have, as African Americans, had global impact every place and in everything that we do. And then Africa really is the seat of so much culture. But we as Americans from Africa have also had global impact, not just in Africa, but across the world. And so when I think about our global impact, and I've had a chance to look through this legacy edition, and you guys know, I say I'm a millennial boomer. You know that I'm like a lot of people. I get most of my news in a digital format. Give it to me fast. Give it to me on my phone. Let me read it. But when it comes to these special editions, I want to. These things are keepsakes. You have to see it in this form almost to really appreciate page after page as we talk about Black farmers and Black cowboys, and certainly our sports and entertainment. We know about that, but we talk about social justice. We talk about Black entrepreneurs and the global impact. So this is a keepsake, and it is a must-have. I'm off the box.
If you just tuned in, this is Black People versus African Americans, global impact. And when I sit back and I think about it, you can have an impact, when a car hits another thing, or when you have influence over something, or when you have an effect on something, or when you make an impression on someone, or if you help to change or to alter someone, if you transform a culture, if you change the music, you change the game. Impact can be seen in so many different ways, right? If you just look up the word impact, but then how have African Americans impacted the culture? Not only here, which we know for years they have kind of tried to rob our culture, tried to steal the things that we created and the things that we impact and claim for themselves. But just how I travel all over the world, and I could be in a place where they don't speak any English, but they're playing all Motown music. You know what I mean? Or you see someone dressed like like your favorite hip hop artist overseas, and they've gotten it all just from the culture impact of a video, of a YouTube video, of an Instagram video. And so we affect the culture all the time, but do we let it affect our bottom line? So I'm off the box. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna let you guys jump into it, and we're not gonna be in 2022, y'all. We can't be the highest in spending on other cultures and not spending on our own. Misha Green, talk to me. What kind of stereotypes you hearing on the digital streets? Or do you guys want to get into some of the things of the issue? I'll let you guys do that. We okay? Am I off script?
Can you guys hear me?
Like I'm crazy.
Well, you said two. Yeah, you said two things. We weren't sure whether
you all can hear me fine, right?
Yeah,
yes.
we do.
We got you.
I'm sorry, Misha. Why don't y'all go into the issue a little bit? And now that we know what you were thinking when you first started, and tell me all about it, because I haven't seen it yet.
Well, Misha, why don't you talk about your story on Josephine Baker, since I mentioned her?
The JBs.
The JBs.
The JBs. Okay. All right. For some reason, Kevin is sounding very choppy to me today. I can hear Dr. Draper fine. And so I think my cue is to talk about the JBs and not on the digital streets.
Right.
So,
Got it.
So I'm going to talk about the JBs. All righty. So, this story was really fun to write. For those that don't know, my background is in theater and the arts. And so I really appreciated getting to dig into these great theater artists. Both of them are theater artists and in their own right. James Baldwin is a great playwright and author. And Josephine Baker, of course, was a dancer, singer, actress extraordinaire. And so learning about their stories, I found out that the two of them really did move to France solely for the purposes of frustration due to the racism that was occurring in the United States. They thought that they had more opportunities, more abilities to thrive as artists, and more abilities to grow, not only in their craft, but also to help other people and thrive and open the doors for them. And so I thought it was really, really interesting to learn about their lives. Josephine Baker moved in the early 1920s and became a French resident by the 1930s and really did not look back. She had so many negative experiences in the United States that it for her there was no really pull to be in the US other than the fact that she was completely understanding of the fact that if other Black Americans were to get respect, that she had to use her voice. She talked about the fact that in France, there was no Jim Crow. She didn't have to get on the back of trains. She didn't have to watch what coffee shop she went into and things like that. She could go to palaces and be treated with respect. And the same did not happen in the United States. And so I think it was an incident at a coffee shop, ironically, in the United States that really was a impetus for her to say, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I can't sit around and act like my people are not still suffering and not treated unfairly. And so what she said, and it was so interesting reading her speech at the 1963 March on Washington, but she said when Josephine opened her big mouth, things would change. And so that's what she did. And she talked about how in opening her mouth, there's so many different people in Hollywood. I mean, this is 1963. And so I ended up taking it out the article, but she talks about the different races that are currently that were currently in Hollywood at the time, and how it wasn't just her, but that, you know, she gave herself her props and that she helped open the door for other artists, even though she was not a renowned artist in the United States, but in France. But because she had that respect there, it was able to carry on a bit in the United States. And so that was really interesting. I mean, now Josephine Baker is very much lauded, even among, I think, millennials and Gen Zers. Because, you know, we sort of know the Betty Boop history and things like that. She is our Betty Boop. And so to hear how she felt she was represented and taken even by Black people in the United States was that, you know, she was not well respected. She said that people's grandmothers would call her a little devil and things like that. But yet she is so well celebrated now. Obviously, she just recently got the French award, that she was the first Black woman ever to get this award. And her legacy continues to this day. So I think it's really, really cool. Not only that she was well accepted in France and embraced and became a star, but also that she didn't really get that notoriety in the United States, but still used her platform to open the door for Hollywood. And then James Baldwin, who was her dear friend, and I'm really disappointed because I could not find a lot of quotes about James Baldwin talking about Josephine Baker. I know they spent a lot of time together. They hung out. They were 18 years apart. She was 18 years older. But I know that they were very, very close friends. And like Josephine Baker, James Baldwin was very frustrated with the racism in the United States. He is from New York, and so he didn't experience racism like a lot of other people had, particularly in the South. But him running to France was after being told no so many times from publishers, from experiencing racism, homophobia, and just all sorts of discrimination and prejudice, and being, again, embraced in France. And so unlike Josephine Baker, you know, those 18 years of life make a difference in terms of opportunities. But James Baldwin actually had a global impact so strong that he was writing in France and then producing this work in the United States and getting published in the United States. And I just think that's remarkable. This is way before we were Zooming in from wherever in the country or in the world to have a meeting. He was in a whole nother country, really frustrated with the treatment of African Americans in the United States, but able to sit in a country where he can sit in a cafe and write without worrying about racism and discrimination, and have sort of that global view, if you will, of the United States and where we were and how he could lend his voice to it. So I love the JBs. I think that they are American heroes and treasures, and we have to continue their legacies in so many ways. And it was really, really interesting writing about them.
There you have it. And I just sent to Taylor, Misha, our producer, before we go to another story. Josephine Baker actually sent a picture to the AFRO in 1933 that's on my phone. So I just sent that. I don't know if we can pull it up and show it before we're off, but she just says to the Afro-American, with great regards, sincerely, Josephine, Paris, and London, 1933. Those are the kind of things we have in our archives, guys. So, probably somebody just took it for granted. It's a stock photo. But what makes it special is that she actually took the time and signed it and sent it into the AFRO. So
that is so amazing. I love working for this place. And we have James Baldwin history as well, don't we?
Yes, James Baldwin as well. Because just think about it. Speaking of the Chicken Boxx, when they worked the so-called, I know this is what we call the Chitlin Circuit, those African American artists in America, where else were they going to get coverage? Right? And so the Black papers across the country made it our business because these were our friends, our family members, parts of our community. We already knew they could sing. Oh, there's the Josephine Baker picture. I don't know if you can see the words because they're all written into her skirt, but of the bottom of her dress. But there it is. Yep. So that's what. And so then she's pretty fancy too. That's 1933.
I think that's the year before she became a French citizen. That is so cool.
Yeah,
we can see the writing and very great penmanship.
Beautiful. Well, they don't teach that anymore. So those of you who can read that means that you learned cursive in school. They don't teach that anymore. So a young person come across this picture 50 years from now will have no idea what it says. That's another box for another time.
That's the truth, Ms. Draper. And I think that it's also, worthy to note that the world is such a diverse place. Like only here in the United States will certain groups just say things like, you make everything about race, or, it's so much emphasis on race. But, it's not us, the minorities, that make everything about race. It just has always been like that for us. But when you travel to other places like France and London and, just different places, it's people from every culture, every walk of life. It's so diverse that, you being Black isn't, something that somebody would just stop in the street and say, oh no, or go out of their way to avoid you just because of that. It's so many different people there that, everybody kind of just blends in. It's truly a melting pot. And so I think that I think that everybody, especially us minorities, should travel outside of this country to experience that, because it's truly beautiful just to feel free, and not to feel like, you have to behave a certain way to make somebody else feel comfortable, or, whatever the case may be, have to deal with any of that craziness. Obviously every place has its own stuff, but, never have I experienced, in my time abroad, that type of like, upfront racism where it's like, oh God, as soon as you see me, you're clutching your purse and, holding your family, like, I'm some type of monster, I've experienced that just walking down the streets here in Baltimore, so it's
right.
just, I think.
And Jessica, and so know this, we Black and brown people are in the majority. We are not the majority. But when you have fools, and that's right, I called him a fool, like the Governor DeSantis, who called critical race theory crap and wants to ban it in Florida schools, and we still have a problem. But we are still talking about our global impact.
But before you go, just struck a chord.
I know. I'm sorry, I triggered Miss
struck a chord, so I got to step up on the box now about us. Okay, we beat each other up, especially our artists and our entertainers, and we are so quick to criticize and to beat us down. Like I go overseas at least 3 to 5 times a year, and it'll be some people who are performing who couldn't get arrested in America, but they love them over there in Germany and Europe and, in Spain and London. But here, everything is, what you doing? What have you been doing lately? Are you working in Walmart now? We ain't seen you. You done fell off. And so this is not even the other cultures. This is us poisoning our own community with just a bunch of, you're looking for everything negative to say about each other and nothing uplifting. If somebody posts something uplifting, you might get, like if we're measuring it on likes, you're going to get a couple likes. But if so-and-so fell down the steps or blah, 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 you're going to have 1 million likes. You're going to have memes made. People who don't have time to do nothing all of a sudden can make every meme. Okay, I'm off the box. I'm just saying, let's uplift each other. AFRO is going to have a segment called The Good News, and we're not going to talk about nothing but the good news coming in 2022. Boom.
Well, talking about global impact, I'll mention something that didn't even make it into the paper because we had so much to do. I remember that when I was in seminary, I had a gospel choir, and everybody came to be. And when I say everybody, I mean people from all countries wanted to be a part of the gospel choir. And a lot of that is because of the global impact and reach of the Black church. Black preaching has merited classes in the academy. Black styles of worship have merited classes in seminary. And the effect of the Black church is just not even measurable. I got a few numbers off of, I won't tell you where I got them from, but I have a few numbers that I got on the AME church that was established in 1816. It now has 2.5 million members, 7,000 congregations in 7 or 8 countries beyond the United States. The AME Zion Church that was established in 1821 has 1.4 million members, and remember that each of these churches is doing outreach beyond the walls of their church in whatever country they're in. The Church of God in Christ has 8.8 million members in 12,000 churches in 200 countries. Likewise, the Church of God has 36,000 churches, 7 million members in more than 178 countries. So imagine how not only the countries are being touched, the people are being touched, but the economy, the world economy is being boosted, affected. People are being made rich just by the presence of African Americans, just in that aspect of our culture, which is our worship and our church culture. Just to interject a little more.
That should not be left out. Hopefully we can get it into the website. If you just jumped in, am I on mute?
Right. Who, me?
No, I said was I on mute, but I guess
No,
not.
you're not on mute. You're not on mute. But the impact of the Black church, impact of Black schools, of Black colleges and universities. I don't even think we scratched the surface on that in this particular edition. And so African Americans have had impact worldwide. We have exported, if you will, through the church, through our African American colleges and universities, so many experts across the world that don't even get recognized for who they are and what they have contributed. And so our teaching of African American history and contributions is woefully inadequate throughout the United States. And so people can push back on whether or not things ought to be taught. But if they're not taught, people don't know. You cannot begin and end with Martin Luther King. That's a disservice, and it's dishonest. And so I'm on the box for a minute about pushing this kind of information out about our global impact throughout the diaspora, yes, but throughout the entire world, and standing on that and stop allowing ourselves, as Kevin said, to be defined by others. I can't tell you how many times I travel someplace and somebody says, "Where are you from?" I said, "Baltimore." And they say, "Is The Wire true?" I said, "I don't know, because I've never seen The Wire."
Mhm.
Do we have problems like any other large metropolitan city? Yes, that's true. But how many times are we not lifting up the contributions? And a lot of times it's because the contributions are not taught. So people say, why do we need a Black press? Well, we need a Black press to talk about not just the past contributions, they are present contributions. They are young African Americans doing phenomenal things that have world impact right now, today, of young people who are really making a difference in the STEM fields, in the arts and the sciences, not just in sports and entertainment. While we lift those up, that's wonderful. That's their lane, that's their niche. I might be on the box for the rest of the whole show, but we got so many talented young folk and not so young folk that we don't know anything about. And if you don't know where you come from, you're not going to know where you're going. And if you don't know what's happening right now, you really won't be able to talk about it. I'm off the box.
And if we don't talk about them at the Afro, who will?
Who will?
Who will? That's what we had.
Other
Or the
Black
black,
papers talk
or
about
the
it too.
black press. I'm sorry, but
Right.
this is that. I'm sorry. I'm pro Black press, but I'm super pro Afro. Anyhow, somebody has to be a leader, and we've been a leader for over 130 years, y'all. If you've never heard of us, check us out, afro.com. We have a legacy edition. We're talking about it right now. It's called Global Impact. Here, pull it up one more time, just in case.
Yeah, here it is. This is our global impact. It is 24 full. We call these broadsheet pages for those who may not have seen a newspaper in a minute. It's 24 full broadsheet pages, and I would love for Jessica to give us a little bit more information. Don't give it all out, Jessica, because we want folks to actually get this paper. But can you give us an overview, Jessica? What else are we going to find in this edition?
Yeah, so we've kind of talked about, we've touched on everything this conversation, but really we talked about the impact of African art on the modern art movement and just acting as a foundation for a lot of the shapes and the colors and the patterns and some of the other things, the textures even that we see today in a lot of art today, especially from Black artists. And then we have, obviously, we know about sports, Black people in sports. We had to shout out Tiger Woods and Serena Williams and, the likes of those people who are really just, have broken barriers in predominantly white sports. We even have a rodeo story in there. So, yes, we do have Black cowboys out here, okay, not just necessarily on the concrete streets, but also Concrete Cowboys. Go see that. That was a great movie on Netflix. Shout out to them. But really out here, like with the rope, with the saddle, on the horse, doing their thing, handling their business. So we are just showcasing stories like these, things that you might not know about, things that you may have heard about before, but not necessarily be well versed in. We have just and yep, Ms. Draper's actually holding it up now. So
our black homeboys on the road.
Yes, homeboys on the range. That sounds like that should be another movie for us. We should make that movie for Netflix. But yeah, it's just things like that. And honestly, I didn't even know that we were out here like that, so I really encourage you all to get this edition, to go to afro.com and subscribe and get your very own print edition that Ms. Draper was just holding up. It is so beautiful, and it's nothing like being able to look and touch and feel and take your time and read through, these pages and look at the pictures up close and, personal. So please do that, because we worked so hard on this edition, and we have another year of special editions like this coming up. So you definitely want to subscribe so that you can be in the know and you can get all of those delivered right to your house.
So I hate to disappoint folk, but if you're not already a subscriber, you may not get this edition. You will have to
call us up to get that.
Yeah, you might have to request that special and just get that one, I'm so sorry about that one edition of, for the cost of the edition plus mailing. Taylor will put up the phone number of 410-554-8200, or there is an email, Taylor, if you can put that up, that people can send just for this edition. But I will support what Jessica is saying. I don't know if Reverend Bulwer wants to get those emails for that. There's a subscribe email, I think, Taylor, that you might be able to find to put up. Okay, yeah, you can text. That's right. Text AFRO to 410-936-5002. Leave your information. Say you want to find out how to get this edition. But if you do subscribe, Kevin would say for the cost, less than the cost of 2 Uber Eats, you can get a digital subscription. But that's still not going to get you this. But I'll say this, for $100 a year, you can get both the digital and the print. And you can break it down any kind of way you want it. You want to pay for it by the month. It's like $10 a month. I know that doesn't add up to 100, but that's the price you pay for, spreading it out. But anyway, we encourage you to get it.
Give the gift of Afro this Christmas.
What I will accept at editor@afro.com would be the names of those young people, those community activists that we've been asking for, because we want to feature them in our January special edition. I will accept their names and their contact information so we can get in touch with them right away. We don't want anybody left out.
How young, Reverend Bulwer? What are you looking for?
We're looking for 35 and under. We want to encourage those that are putting it out there, who are trying to save their peers, who are coming up with new ways of making peace and creating community and educating us on civics and all of that kind of thing. So anybody who's doing something to change the world from their own front step, then please send their information to me at editor@afro.com. We are approaching our cutoff date.
Okay, I have a young activist for you from, I think it's Perry Hall High School. I may have sent you his information already. He's organizing all kinds of things on his campus.
That's what we're looking for.
Absolutely, you guys. This is Black People versus African American Global Impact. That's right. When you get on the internet and you have a podcast, you're streaming, you can impact globally right from your home, because now it's no longer just in one location. We can be everywhere at one time, if in fact they're live. Misha Green, welcome back.
Hello. Hey, everybody.
We missed you. I was wondering, did you go out on those digital streets to find some information? Was it any?
That's exactly where I went. I really did have to hit the streets because I was trying to figure out, was it just my internet or was it something going on? So I had the treat of tuning into our YouTube to watch the show today. So that was fun. And y'all are just sharing such a wealth of information. So it was good to quickly be on the outside of things and tune it in. So I guess with that said, let me tell y'all what the digital streets got to say about the African American global impact, or what that might look like. So as always, I must emphasize these are solely stereotypes, not views or opinions or facts endorsed by the Afro-American newspapers. And again, these are primarily direct quotes straight from the digital streets. So first, people underestimate the potential revolutionary impact Black cinema could have. Black people are fully actualized in music, and we see how far that has gotten us. Someone said Black people win world titles. Someone said, think of the impact of what you say when identifying Black people in headlines. So that was something for the press, for us. Someone said, how much does a policy have to negatively impact Black people until it is deemed racist? So that's sort of the reverse of global impact, but I think it was worth noting. It is important to highlight the influence and importance of Black people in the cultural formation of our society, someone said. Another person said, and I have to read this in text language, tweet language as much as I can. The world looks to America for pop cultural influence. America looks to Black people for pop cultural influence. Black people look to the hood for most of its cultural influence. Black hood ghetto folks started all this, period. This is what the person said. And just so you know, the period did have a T on it, period. Someone said it's very little culture in America that Black people didn't influence. Another person wrote, the funny part is Black people understand that we essentially created every popular music genre in America and our influence is unmatched. Then get mad when Black women make pop music. Find the sense. We created it, so why can't we sing it? Because the whites like it. Someone wrote, and whites, I just have to say, is spelled YTS. um, Black people influence literally everything. Literally, one person wrote. And finally, Black people, one thing you must be aware of is to show how connected we are. When a new dance comes out that has an African vibe influence, you don't even need to learn the dance. By seeing someone dance it, you feel it so deep that you adapt. Before you know it, you know how to dance it. So those are what the digital streets have to say about global impact.
Wow. Did any of those resonate with you guys?
That was very entertaining.
Well, the one about dancing, I mean, as I wrote in this week's special edition that we keep lifting up on global impact, I've been to Kampala, Uganda several times. Now, I can't say I dance exactly like they do. They have their own African dance, which is an art form in and of itself. But certainly, when we're in, I was in a lot of church services there. When you're in a church service there, and folks start to dancing, whatever dance they're doing, we could imitate it. Might not know it, but we could imitate it because it's so familiar. And we all know how to slide to the left and slide to the right, and we're not bumping into each other at the same time. And so, yeah, it was just a natural. Even though the African dance in and of itself is pretty intricate, there's certain things about the rhythm though that you just pick up and go for it.
Man, I always wondered, why do everybody in church do the same dance? I'm like, as soon as that music hit, do, and then they all do the same. I'm like, I mean,
The babies too,
right? I'm like,
black babies.
I'm just like, hey, can somebody cabbage patch or something? I mean, like they all are just doing the same dance. I mean, I'm like, well, maybe it's one accord. Okay, maybe God will tell me right now. Maybe they're all on one accord and they're doing the same dance. But I always, as a child, looked at it and it's just like, when that music hits, I guess you got to learn how to do the step. If not, you know what I mean?
It's
It's not just in church.
ancestral. I
Yeah,
think
it's just not in church,
Right. That's right.
right? When I went to
Well, I mean, if you were at a party ever at one time in your life before church, or
well,
still doing church, and you were at the club the night before on Saturday, everybody is not doing the same dance, but people are trying to do whatever the dance that is out.
The two-step. Everybody does a two-step now.
everybody does.
I
the
don't know what you're talking
two-step.
about.
And then
I mean, maybe
you
you just okay. That's what we got to talk about one time on the Chicken Boxx dances.
Right.
Like how generationally. Like when I was coming up, it was like the Cabbage Patch, and then it was a bunch of different dances, the WAP and all of these
'cause you
different
came up,
things.
you came up when they were still music.
Right. And so when you were in junior high school or high school, you had to know, like you were practicing that dance in the mirror before you even got to the party because you didn't want to look goofy.
No,
Every song had its own dance.
That
That's
still
right.
exists. If you look, which is all up in this week's special edition, at TikTok, for example. I mean, I am aged out of a lot of dances, etc. If you look at TikTok and things like that, but I think if you going back to your original question, before we even get into the real music of today, etc., does it really exist? Because I think it's definitely fair to say that Black content creators, etc., are continuing to give us new dances and new styles of music and new ways to move that the whole world is doing. But to go back to your question about the church, I definitely think it's ancestral because the root of the dance, going back to Dr. Draper's point, is the same no matter where you go. Of the 2 feet moving, and there's a slight hip without it being gyration. Your hands your hands and arms are involved, and the root of it, no matter where you go, when you go to right, exactly.
Okay. It's the same.
Exactly. But without being offensive at all to the religious aspect of it, when you're shouting, your back is bent, your shoulders are near your body, and your feet are going too. I think it goes it's all a similar root of diasporic movement,
and it's in rhythm.
That's key right there. Now, Miss Tripp, you should have said that first.
Right.
My husband and I went to see Dreamgirls over the weekend, and it was some part, I don't know when it was, but a song came on. The whole audience knew the song, and they were all swaying the same way. Wasn't somebody going right while somebody else was going left. It's like the song came on, they started singing, and there we started singing, and there we were.
Dr. Bowie, you look like you itching. You must have been a dancer back in the day. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm still a dancer, Kevin.
All right, now.
She's still a dancer.
Boom. Oh.
Look, arthritis may try to say differently, but I'm still a dancer. You made me laugh because I remember back in the day when Bishop John Bryant was then just Reverend John Bryant, and we were beginning to pick up the kind of dancing that may have been done in other cultural churches. And he would say, be sure that when you dance in church, you go up and down, because if you go side to side, it's the shimmy. So you know how long ago that was when people were talking about doing the shimmy. So you had to be respectful in your church dancing, but be free enough to praise the Lord while you were doing it.
Global impact.
Now that's
a global impact.
Now,
Absolutely.
I don't know if there is a big dance culture in New York and in LA. I mean, it's dancers everywhere, but I'm talking about like the culture is there in LA of the dance community that has a huge impact on the whole world. So I think we got some good Chicken Boxx new shows. We got dances, we got dancers, you know what I mean? And we have what was the other show that you guys just mentioned that we need to talk about?
The other thing about dance in church is how it has evolved into now with the liturgical dances and the waving of the flags.
She was just doing that. She was dancing liturgically as she talked. She was doing this, and we have what do we have coming up, Jessica? We have
Devotion in Motion,
the AFRO Christmas talent
extravaganza.
Well,
yeah, that's next Thursday.
Oh God.
We are going to do it live on Facebook. I don't know yet the time. We'll have to promote it out. We had said, I think 4:00 or something like that. But anyway, we did it last year, and so you'll get a chance to see the AFRO team talent. And so we are going to have dancers and singers and spoken word and a fashion show. The AFRO team will be sharing holiday cheer next week to all of our 650-some-thousand Facebook followers, should they choose to watch us live next Thursday or get it by, we said we would do it in the afternoon. We should do it in this 12:00 hour.
We should.
And let it just be next week's Chicken Boxx.
We could.
We could. Thank you. Listen, I see now why television shows take a break, right? You know how you say, hey, you'll be watching these reruns until the new season because you need to power yourself back up. So for the new season, 2022 is going to be amazing. That's all my favorite numbers. That adds up to good God Almighty. Anyway, we'll talk about that at another time. Look, we winding down time. We having so much fun.
Before we wind down, though, Kevin, I do want to say, speaking of AFRO team, and we have not done this publicly. We've done it in our in our social media and all of that. But we want to give a shout out and remember Edgar Brooks, a part of our AFRO team, who has gone on to be with the Lord. 30 years of part of our team, died a couple of weeks ago. His funeral is this coming Saturday. And so I just want to give a tribute and a shout out to Edgar Brooks, because we're talking about global impact. Edgar Brooks was one of the people who worked with retired Colonel Cummings to try to get a gold medal for the trips of 6888 Postal Battalion. The Black women, we had Colonel Cummings on our Chicken Boxx not too long ago to talk about this effort. And I don't think it passed through yet. I think they're still short of a couple of signatures in Congress. But to honor these Black women who got the mail out when nobody else could, who were part of the Army. But Brookins was a person who worked really, really hard to see that come to fruition. And so we salute Edgar Brookins, his life and his legacy. And so I wanted to do that publicly on the Chicken Boxx.
Thank you for making us all reflect when we want to go there yet.
But it's global. But he had a global impact.
I call him Dr. Brookins.
Man, we're celebrating his life. We're celebrating his life. We're celebrating his contributions. And if I could make that Army noise or whatever he does, I'm gonna try to do that.
Hoorah! Hoorah!
Y'all have to help me for Saturday. I'm gonna call on those of you who are there to do it. Okay. I'm off the box.
The chicken was doing it. Listen, we're wrapping up another great show, Global Impact. You know we have global impact as African Americans. Everything we do is imitated and duplicated, but we always don't get a chance to facilitate the income from it. So we have to move to ownership. There's a new gold rush we talked about, guys. Cryptocurrency and the blockchain is changing the world. So all of our IT specialists and all of our non-IT specialists need to get some understanding and know where we're going with this so that you can participate and come up and create like we usually do. And we'll have dope ideas on the blockchain. So we're going to go around real quick, get on the box before we hop off for the holiday edition. Next, we're going to do it on the Chicken Boxx. Next week, it's going to be fabulous. It's going to be like a variety show, which some people don't know, but you know, like the Gong Show. We need to bring back like the Gong Show on the internet. Anyway, I'm just thinking about all these shows for next year that I don't want to do, but I do. All right, you on the box, Misha Green. Final words on global impact or whatever else you would like to share.
I'm going to share our Afro fact this week and use that time. So this week's Afro fact is inspired by the December 16th, 1967 edition. And the headline read, "Does Black Agent Have Info on Kennedy Killing?" The story says that Abraham Baldwin, who was the nation's first colored Secret Service agent, allegedly shed light on the claim that there was a conspiracy involving the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Baldwin allegedly said that the Secret Service knew the identity of those who had planned an assassination in Chicago. And that's this week's Afro fact.
Boom, and you're off the box. I know, like, we're so Zoom ready, right? We mute when we're not speaking, and we don't want anybody to hear the toilet flushing or somebody in the back say, "Yo, turn the TV down." You know, that does happen when you're on the stream. Anyway, Jessica, final words.
No, that's true. It does happen. It happens to me all the time. But that's called Zoom etiquette. You have to have Zoom etiquette. But that's not what I want to leave on the box. It is a great time for Black people to be Black. I am so proud to be Black now more than ever. It has not been, it's not always easy, but, really, especially working here at the AFRO, where I am just immersed in Black history all of the time. I'm just so proud of my heritage and so proud of us as a race and how far we've come since slavery. And, we're still moving. And, it's just a great time. I said this last year, when things kind of started changing, in the way that we wanted it to, it's a great time to be Black. Being Black is on trend. And so I hope that stays the trend. I hope it's not a trend. I hope it just stays like that forever because we are here, we matter. And yeah, that's me. I'm off the box.
Absolutely. Dr. Boulware, you're on the box.
Well, I would like to invite people to visit our News at Noon show. We do it. We put up new news every day on the website, but on Mondays we come on live and discuss some of the news that we have recently posted. And this coming Monday at noon, we are inviting our freelance writers, those who can afford themselves of it, to come and share with us some of the best experiences they've had this year, the most interesting people they've met, the most impactful stories they've written. So feel free to join in with us. Afro News at noon on Monday, this coming Monday. Thank you. That was my box time.
I said it's your truth.
It's not
Dr.
true.
Draper, you're in the box.
Hello. I just would like to say that, we will continue to have global impact as long as we embrace younger people and bring them up in the way that they should go, as the Bible says. And so I want to give a shout out to Darius Brockett, who is interning with us from the great Morgan State University. And this is his last day with us. He handled our Instagram postings, and so give a shout out to him. And then talking about our edition again, that we are still here, our global impact. I want to just say to everybody what this says here. This is what's called an editorial cartoon. This was done by, speaking of global impact, Thomas Stockett, who was our cartoonist for years. Mr. Stockett had one arm, and you all probably, I don't know if you can see this or not, but he drew this. This is a pencil drawing of the Black nativity scene. And as it says here at the bottom, may the true spirit of Christmas be with you and yours this holiday season. So I want to lift up Mr. Stockett and also just say Merry Christmas to everybody. I know we say happy holidays, but Christmas is the celebration of Christ. Merry Christmas.
Boom. This has been another wonderful Chicken Boxx with our wonderful editorial team and our CEO. And I think Misha Green has dropped off, but it's always glad to see you guys. If, here's a digital hug, since we've been social distancing, but listen, you can have an impact. And I like how Dr. Draper said, on a young person. You might think you overwhelmed and can change the world, but you can just touch one person and have an impact on that person's life. You'll be surprised of just you speaking positive. The young generation's positive vibes, but if you just bring that positive energy into their life, it could be the switch that sets that light bulb off, and they go. Also, our seniors, don't forget them. A lot of them are in the house by themselves or in a nursing home or something like that. Send them some love. Do a video. Call them up. Go show them how to work FaceTime. Get them a phone and share some love and impact on them. And have a wonderful day, everybody. We're bringing the news, but next year we're going to be bringing a lot of great news, So while all of the other people want to talk about the negative, we're going to be talking about the positive over here. Have a great day. Next week, can't wait for that talent show, y'all. Woo, we can see who can sing, dance, and rap. What else we gonna do? Up and the Chicken Boxx. Thank you to
we have a fashion show, a spoken word, singing and dancing, and a good time. And you are invited to our
y'all
Facebook.
Better make sure y'all have your internet paid. All right, everybody.
You all are all invited. We're having a big party. It's bring your own lunch, as you always do in the Chicken Boxx, and so we'll see you then.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you, Taylor, our producer. We have a producer.
Yeah, thanks, Taylor.
Take care.